Toddlers have an incredible way of testing our patience and knowing exactly how to push our buttons. From tantrums to the strange behavior, it seems like they're often not behaving in a way that we want. In this video, we're going to learn how to discipline a toddler. It's probably a little different than you thought or the way that you were brought up, but it works. Hey guys, I'm Jason Kreidman, creator of the Dad University Parenting Program. If you are a dad of a young child and you want to go from overwhelmed and confused to calm and confident parent, then my course can help you. Set up a phone call with us to see if you're a good fit for the program. I'll put some information in the description below. When we talk about toddler discipline, let's first take a step back and talk about the definition. The word discipline actually comes from the Greek word meaning to teach. In fact, our intention in most cases is to teach our toddler. We're trying to teach them the behavior that is acceptable and the behavior that is not acceptable. And we use discipline to do that. However, for most dads, when we use the word discipline, we actually mean punishment. So we are in fact using punishment to try to teach our toddler the correct behavior. The problem with this is that punishment doesn't actually teach the toddler the appropriate behavior or what they are supposed to do. Punishment often results in the child just thinking that you're mean or that you are keeping them down, instead of actually focusing on what they did wrong or how to fix it or what could I do better next time. If you punish the child and then you explain to them what is the correct or acceptable behavior, did the punishment actually accomplish anything? We often feel like the punishment makes sense. We have to give them some kind of consequence for what they did. But does it actually teach them anything? And of course, the argument is often, well, if I punish them, then they will have that fear of being punished again, so they'll avoid the behavior. Well, that's all great in theory, but it actually doesn't work that way or produce long-term success. Don't we want our children to make decisions ultimately because it's the right thing to do or it's the appropriate behavior? Doing things or not doing things simply to avoid punishment doesn't have a high likelihood of success. I can hear the comments now, hey Jason, I was spanked or grounded or my parents did whatever and it worked on me. I turned out great. Well, that's not exactly how it worked. It was the tens of thousands of hours that your parents spent instructing you and loving you and showing you the correct behavior that actually worked. The punishment was not the trick. I'm not saying that there aren't consequences for your actions. In fact, I did a video, I'll put it up here, that talks about natural and logical consequences and how those are the only two acceptable consequences that we should be providing as parents. But punishing your child will just make them more sneaky, improve their lying skills, and having them be more creative in ways to not get caught. So if that's your intention, then punishment is a good idea. I go over this in great detail in my parenting program. We learn how to modify the behavior effectively. It's not about the punishment. It's about teaching them the correct behavior. While you might think your toddler is a genius, and they might be pretty smart, they really don't have an idea of what's going on. So our job is to teach them. And I'm going to give you a couple other things that you can keep in mind as you approach them to modify their behavior with toddler discipline. Number one, remain calm. You might think that yelling and being loud is the best way to get your point across. You may not know another way to get your point across. But what happens is that when we yell, we don't think as clearly. And it's really important that when we are implementing strategies and trying to modify behavior, that we can think clearly and be calm. The other thing is that we're trying to display to our children that remaining calm is important. So be sure to remain calm yourself. Number two, don't take things personally. You might think that your toddler is out to make your life miserable. I guarantee you they're not even thinking about that. They are just trying to make sense of this world. So do not take things personally when your toddler messes up, or even when they talk back to you, or when they do anything. We often take it personally and think that they're trying to affect us, or that they're trying to defy us. And the truth is, they don't really know what they're doing. So just don't take it personally. Number 3, be empathetic. Remember, your toddler's new to this. So while you might think that you've said the same thing over and over 1,000 times, they still haven't gotten it. They're, like I said, their brains are still developing. So being empathetic means that you're going to look at the situation from your toddler's perspective. And when you look at the situation from your toddler's perspective, it looks a lot different. You're brand new to this. You didn't know you weren't supposed to do that, or maybe you were told once or twice or 10 times, but you still didn't get it. Be empathetic with your toddler. Number 4, ignore the bad behavior. Now, they might be kicking and screaming, but do not engage them when they are in that state. They want dad to interact. Even if you are yelling or grabbing them or doing anything that in your mind is negative and trying to modify their behavior, they still got what they wanted, which was your attention. So what they learn in the long term is if they behave that way, in a negative way, they get your attention. Now, it might be negative attention, so it's not the attention that you want or maybe that they even wanted, but it's still attention. So ignore the bad behavior. Sometimes that's hard to do in public, but certainly when you're around the house, it's a safe environment. You can often just ignore them or let them know and say, hey, when you're done, we can talk. Then the opposite of that is number 5, reinforce good behavior. So when they do something good, we often don't say anything because we just expect that they're supposed to do things well and follow directions. But instead, show them gratitude. Hey, thank you so much for coming over to me when I called you over at the park. Like, that really helped us leave quickly. Or, hey, I saw you cleaned up your trash earlier. Hey, that was greatly appreciated. You are reinforcing the positive behavior. What happens is that when we reinforce the good behavior, we are likely to see that good behavior again. And unlike the bad behavior that we're ignoring, they don't get any reaction, they don't get any attention, they are less likely then to do the bad behavior. So we reinforce the good and ignore the bad. Number 6, coach them. Instead of being a prison warden, be their coach. If they're doing something incorrectly or they're doing behavior that is not appropriate, then you need to show them the correct way. So by being their coach, you are instructing them on what the correct behavior is or how to do something. The way that this might look is you can ask them, how could you have handled that differently? You know, that's a common phrase heard around our house. We make a mistake, we talk about it, and we say, well, how could we have handled that differently? What would have been a better way to handle that? Another way to coach them is by role playing. You know, you could use stuffed animals or dolls and kind of recreate the scenario in which they chose the wrong behavior or did something that wasn't desirable. Toddlers love to pretend. So let's pretend we're in that situation again, except let's handle it differently. And you can go through that over and over again. Ultimately, our job is to instruct, coach, and teach. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with a toddler. The key here is that toddler discipline isn't about punishment. You know, when your child throws a toy, putting them in the corner doesn't teach them that throwing a toy is going to hurt somebody or that that's not the way we play with toys. So we show them how to play with the toy. Toddlers will struggle with making the connection between the punishment and the behavior that they were doing wrong or what they should do instead. So the most important part is the instruction. But for us as parents, we think that we need to punish, that we need to teach them a lesson. But that doesn't teach them a lesson. Instructing them teaches them the lesson. Toddlers need instruction over and over and over and over again about what is the appropriate behavior. Remember, if you're dealing with a toddler and you want to learn effective discipline, then my parenting program is the answer. We learn exactly what to say and what to do in those kinds of situations. You can become calm, and confident on how to handle these situations with your toddler. Again, I'll put some information in the description below. Dealing with toddler discipline does often feel like you are a broken record. As I said, you're over and over again, you're doing the same things, you're saying the same things, you're trying to teach them. But that's the process of parenting. You have to be patient, and it's going to take time. I would love to hear from you. Do you think that this type of toddler discipline works? Or do you believe that punishment is the way to go? Leave your feedback in the comment section below. Also, it really helps us spread our message and get the video to more people if you give it a thumbs up and like this video. If you know anyone that may enjoy this, please share it with them. We'll see you next time.